If there's one thing that lawmakers can agree on, is that we need to take care of our veterans. On a recent trip to Washington, I sat down with the lawmakers who represent the Piedmont Triad. I asked them all, what are they doing on Capitol Hill to make life better for our veterans? Let's begin with Congressman Mark Walker.
One of the things is to make sure that our veterans are taken care of. I think that's universal, bipartisan, to make sure that those who have answered freedom's call, even gentlemen who have served during wartime, are make sure that they're getting taken care of. We've seen a Veterans Administration that have been really shallow at times as far as exhausting these needs or filling these needs. And that's one of the reasons that we even have a concern with the new process. We've passed 4 veterans bills to this point in this year. And the one I really like is the one that allows the education to be paid for, and not just the actual cost of the education, but even matriculation fees. That way, a young veteran, when he's coming back from Iraq or Afghanistan, he can immediately go into a community college or a 4-year university and start getting some education.
Are there other things that you feel the United States should be doing for our veterans that we're not doing?
I think there are 3 or 4 different areas, specific pieces of legislation. One that's still in the Senate that we're hopefully getting some traction is to allow veterans to be released from some of these corporate mandates. For example, we've talked much about the Obamacare, Affordable Care Act. A lot of these restaurateurs and other places who are hiring these veterans have been able to put under this process where they have to follow all these mandates. The Hire More Heroes Act that we passed back in January specifically allows the veterans to go into different workplaces and not have to follow under those same mandates. Maybe, if you will, put some in front of the line.
I also sat down with Congresswoman Virginia Foxx. She serves North Carolina's 5th Congressional District.
You know, we're from a state where a lot of people have served, a lot of military installations. What are you doing to help the veterans who are serving now? What are you doing in particular to help those veterans who come back from war or who have served and need access to all sorts of programs?
Well, Cameron, I wear this pin every day. It says, I support veterans. I don't need it to remind me, but when I meet a veteran, I want the veteran to see that. I am doing everything I can to improve the VA, and certainly we do everything we can to help individual veterans that come to us. And I'll tell you, I've got lots and lots of letters from veterans, and I see people again when I'm on the street at home, in meetings, people come up to me and say, thank you. I could not get the VA to respond to me. I contacted your office, and I contacted your office. They immediately got on the stick. I'm appalled at this administration and the way it treats veterans. And again, we've pushed and pushed and pushed to get the Veterans Administration to be more responsive to our veterans. I've always taken this attitude: if we treat our veterans right and we treat our active duty military right, we can continue to have a volunteer military. We have the best military we've ever had in the history of this country. The caliber of people signing up for our military is wonderful, and I'm so proud of them. But I want them to see us treating our veterans right, so they will continue in the military. Many of them make careers out of it. And I want to see young people see us treat our veterans correctly, so they'll aspire to go in the military, whether they actually served in combat or they served when we weren't at war and were there if they were needed, or if they served behind the scenes. So I believe it is an extraordinarily important role of the federal government to make sure we take care of our veterans. And nobody wants to get between me and the service a veteran deserves, because I will fight for them, or him or her, just as hard as I'd fight for anybody in my family, maybe even a little harder, because I just cherish them so much. My father served in World War II, all my uncles, my brother served in Vietnam, and I'm just a huge supporter of veterans.
Over on the Senate side, I spent time with both Senator Richard Burr and Senator Thom Tillis.
North Carolina, of course, a state where veterans are near and dear. A lot of people have served, a lot of people currently in the armed forces. What is the United States doing to help them? What are we not doing? Where are we falling short in taking care of veterans?
Well, you know, North Carolina has as many veterans as 7 states have total populations. We have over 900,000 veterans, fast approaching 1 million veterans. We have some great health care facilities. My work on the Veterans Affairs Committee is one of the most rewarding things that I do. That and the casework that we do back home. One thing I will tell you, if any veteran needs help or any family member of a veteran needs help, they need to contact my office. You can go to tillis.senate.gov, get the contact information. We'll open up a case. I hear a great story. In fact, we're giving an award out almost every week for constituent service. Much of that is being done breaking the log jams for veterans. Now, what do we need to do? We have a bloated bureaucracy in the VA that takes about as much money to change a system as the cost of a benefit. We just passed a bill or co-sponsored a bill with Senator Brown from Ohio that was to provide a benefit to the families of men and women who were killed in combat. We found out the cost of that benefit is going to be about $6.2 million over 10 years. The cost of the system change so that we can track and provide the benefit is $5.1 million. When you almost have a 1-to-1 ratio between the benefit and the cost to provide the benefit, you know that things have to change. Veterans want to be, there are some people that say privatize the VA. Invariably, they're not veterans, because most veterans I talk to say that when they're given the opportunity to be treated in a VA clinic, they like it. Half the people that provide care are veterans themselves. So we've got to get the VA healthcare centers and the VA hospitals in line, make sure that the wait times go down, make sure that we're providing care as quickly as possible, and then build partnerships with private doctors through non-VA care and choice, but always focusing on the customer, focusing on the thing that's most important, and that is providing quality service to a veteran, somebody that served our country. We owe it to them to move heaven and earth to provide them the health care that they deserve.
Senator Richard Burr has a unique perspective on the military. His father was a World War II veteran serving in the Navy.
You've long been a proponent of our men and women in the armed services, of our veterans who come back. What does the United States need to be doing to help those veterans, particularly in North Carolina, where we have a lot of servicemen?
Well, first and foremost, we've got to have the capacity to handle everybody who's eligible for VA. In North Carolina, we're fortunate. We've continued to build out the infrastructure, and by the time we get to the end of March of 2016, we will have opened 3 new healthcare centers in North Carolina, each one averaging about 300,000 square feet of VA healthcare space. One in Charlotte, one in Kernersville, one in Fayetteville, that will handle 95% of a veteran's needs. My hope is that we'll be able to take veterans who see multiple doctors and see them all on the same day at the same facility. It's not about the level of care, it's about the level of access. And as hard as I've tried over the last several years to fix many of the things that we all know are broken within the VA, many of them are still broken today. But for North Carolina's growth in military retirees, the #1 need we have is the amount of square footage we need to provide and deliver that health care. And we're in better shape than most of the country.
Your father's a World War II veteran, Navy frogman. Does that play a role in your understanding what veterans need and your desire to give them the attention and give them the resources that they need?
It does, but it plays a bigger role in the sacrifices that he made. A young man, before he was married, before he had children, that volunteered like everybody else did to go to World War II and basically give up their, potentially give up their future because they thought that was that important to the next generation and their survival. We're in a very similar battle today. All volunteer force, people who commit and without asking why, go wherever the commander-in-chief says to go and do exactly what our military leaders say, because we've got to eliminate this threat. The threat's to us, but the threat is to the future.
One final nod to true American heroes next on Chronicles.